No. That shows you the state of our people. It shows you the state of our people, how we are. Any questions for anyone wants to give any information based on anything that you've come across this week? Anyone? Yes? Okay, so we have, right, go ahead. President Netanyahu is on the verge of losing. Explain.
As president of Israel.
As president of Israel.
And the person who was running against him at one time was his chief of staff.
Yeah.
Two totally different persons.
Yeah.
And he may be the one that will sign the agreement.
Yeah.
Speculating that that's why he's winning.
Yeah. Well, everything that's to do with so-called Israel is going to it's going to collapse more and more and more, and it has to, because it has to be the fulfillment of what's coming in the years to come. Again, we are the final generation. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no other generation coming after this.
That's right.
This is it. Now you might think, how do you know? The scripture tells us that.
God.
And all the signs show forth that this is the final countdown. We're basically in the midst of saying 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We're in that type of countdown right now. That things are going to happen more and more, and things are going to get more and more extraordinary. So this is indeed the days that Elijah is going to return. Let's go, if you please, into the teaching today. For your title consideration, I'd like you to make a note. Behold, I stand at the door. Behold, I stand at the door. And verse 6. Let us read.
The book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 6. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
Read.
And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth.
Come on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see if we can break this down somewhat. Answer me this question. What is the purpose of a key? A key unlocks or it locks. So it has a double connotation, to either lock something in or out, or to open something to let it in or out, right? So a key then is a very important device. A key also, from the standpoint of the world, what does it stand for? When we use the term key, what does it stand for?
Sometimes point, sometimes let's say it's a, for example, this is the key to something, like this is the key to understanding something.
Okay, so key means to give understanding, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like I'm for lack of a better way to express it. But for me, I'm not saying it right, but like, or in music terms, keys is like, has to do with the key you're playing in.
Okay, because you're a musician now, so you see keys as what?
As a means for everybody to play together.
All right, so keys gives direction for people to follow then.
Exactly.
All right, okay. So keys also, find me that scripture that speaks about keys in the Synoptic Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Who can find that really quick? Let's see.
You say to take away the key of knowledge?
No, not that one. I will give you the keys. You'll find it. Now, in the meantime, while you're locating that, if you have keys and you lock someone out, what does that mean? If I lock someone out, what am I really expressing?
It's really just like for the person.
Anyone? Go on, some of you sisters in here should know that one real good. You lock that door and you bolt it. You stay out there. So,
They don't do that when they shoot.
what did I hear?
Yeah, you heard correctly. Matthew 16:19.
Yeah, that's the one. Matthew chapter 16 and verse 19. Let's read it.
The book of Matthew, chapter 16 and verse 19. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.
Now, read on the next verse.
Verse 20. Then charged he.
Stop. So what does it say?
Then charged.
So he then gave this charge to someone. So keys lock in or lock out, and he says he's going to give them the keys. He said, and I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven.
Come.
But then later on we read where it says,
Then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man.
that they should do what?
Tell no man.
Read.
That he was Yahushua, the Yamashiach.
All right, now go to Isaiah 22 and 22. Read.
Isaiah chapter 22, verse 22. And the key of the house of David
Read it slowly, read it again.
And the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder. So he shall open, and none shall shut.
And none shall shut. So, it's letting us know here that the keys are to be given to a particular individual that he's going to open up, and no one will have the power to shut it down. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
So then, let's quickly go back to Revelations chapter 3, and let's read verse 7 again.
Revelations chapter 3 and verse 7. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David.
The key of David. So now, the emphasis seems to be making its point around the key of David. Let's explore that as to what is the significance. Let's go to John chapter 5 and 26. So John chapter 5, verse 26. Let's read.
The book of John, chapter 5 and verse 26. For as the Father hath life in himself,
Read.
so hath he given to the Son to have life in himself.
So now, it's clear now that as the Father had what?
Hath life in himself.
So the Father has life in himself. All life emits from him.
God.
Read.
So hath he given to the Son to have life in himself.
So he's given to the Son the authority that he too has the right to give or to take life. The Son has this. Let's read the next verse. Read.
Verse 27. And hath given him authority.
Stop. And has given him what?
Authority.
So he has authority. So he has the power to do what?
To execute judgment.
To execute judgment. Read.
Also, because he is the Son of Man.
He's the Son of Man. So there are going to be some things that he's going to do that's going to be completely off the rails as to how we have studied the scriptures. And I'll explain that a little bit more as we go along. Because although there is a set pattern for everything to be done, because he has the key, because he has the authority, he can change things and cause the minds that people had for one thing, be changed for something else. This is wonderful. I don't want to read any more there, but let's go to Revelations 22 and 16. Revelations 22 and verse 16. Let's read.
Revelation chapter 22 and verse 16. I, Yahushua, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches.
So he has sent his angels, and who are his angels?
Israel?
Well, yes, Israel technically, but who? Prophets? Who said something back there? Ministers? Yes. So his servants. When I hear the word ministers, I hear the word servants, because that's where we're meant to receive it. And the reason why we have to start receiving that way, because if we get caught up with Christianity, we'll see ministers as being bigger than what they're supposed to be. No, they're servants.
That's right.
So that's good. So prophets, servants. Now, here's the thing. Read this slowly.
I am the root and the offspring of David.
So it says, I am the root and the offspring of David. Now, here's what we miss when we read this. It's given you a clue as to who he is. Someone who occurs later on. So what is it saying? Yes, go ahead and say it, brother.
I'll go for it. Well, I know that he came, in terms of regeneration, he came as Adam, then he came as Isaac, so that would have been, either one of those would have been root, then he was Solomon.
All right, good. So, he's saying that I am the root. I was Adam. For those of you that can receive this. Because some of this will be it's too hard meat. You can't bite this. So some of you will reject this because it's just beyond the scope of your understanding. And that's okay. Because that's where you are. Sometimes you have to grow to a point and get other scriptures in you before you can begin to relate to this. So he's letting us know without saying it that he's the root. He was Adam. And he's the offspring, meaning that came through the bloodline of his great-great-grandfather, David. He then became Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus. So he's showing you an alpha and an omega. So you're seeing two ends of this. Now watch this now. Let's read it from the top. Let's read 16 again.
Revelation chapter 22, verse 16.
Read.
I, Yahushua, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David.
Read.
And the bright and morning star.
The bright and morning star. So when it uses the word bright and morning star, again, remember the word morning star was used for whom? Who? No. It was, what do you say? Angel. Which angel? Lucifer. You see? So you're seeing that that term there is used in the same way because it's a title. That's why when people say, you know, Lucifer this, Lucifer that, hold on, that's not his name. That's a title. The same way you can have a title as a minister, which means servant. That's what the word morning star is speaking about. Are you with me so far? Yeah. So, without putting the focus on that, the bright and morning star, meaning the beginning of all wisdom and knowledge and so on. So, here now it's given us a clue. Let's go from it, Colossians chapter 1 and 13. Colossians chapter 1 and 13. Just quickly go there, please. And let's slow the reading down just a tad.
Yes, sir. 1:13.
Mm-hmm. Now watch this. Let's read.
The book of Colossians, chapter 1 and verse 13. Who have delivered us from the power of darkness.
From what?
From the power of darkness.
Read.
And have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son.
From the what?
From his dear Son.
From the kingdom of his dear Son. All right, read on.
In whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins.
Now, who is it speaking about? It's speaking about Yahushua doing this for which people?
Israel.
Read on.
Verse 15. Who is the image?
Who is what?
Who is the image
Read.
of the invisible Yahweh.
Of the invisible Yahweh. Read.
The firstborn of every creature.
So, no creature was made, nothing was made before him.
Come.
All right, so I'm taking you somewhere here, so I need you to follow this. And then he says, read.
For by him.
For by who?
For by him
Read.
were all things created, that are in heaven,
That are where?
that are in heaven,
Read.
and that are in earth,
Read.
visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions, or principalities, or powers, or Salaki. All things were created by him and for him.
Right. That ties in with the precept of John 1 and 1. Okay, if you're making notes. And this is also telling us about thrones.
Come.
Because you can't do this unless you hold a position of a throne. Let's read 18 whilst we're there.
Verse 18. And he is the head of the body,
He's the head of the body. Now what is the body? Read.
the church.
So the head of the body is the church. So the church is a body of people,
That's right.
not a building.
That's right.
Now the reason why you have to get that is because that's why many read the book of Revelation and talking about a, church, a gigantic structure coming down from heaven, coming to sit on the earth. Here it's letting it be made very plainly. He is the head of the body. What is the body? The church, colon, read.
Who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead.
Firstborn from the dead. So not only is he the first that was ever made, because Yahushua was made, he's also the first that came, died, and came up as a first fruit. The first fruit of them that slept. No one has risen up. But in the Old Testament, there are many people who died and came back to life. Yes, but they came back to life, but they died later on. He's the only one that came, died, and when he got up from the grave, never went back to sleep again, nor will he ever. Finish it.
The firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have preeminence.
Might have the preeminence. First position. From here, let's go to John 5. Let's go back there. John 5, we're going to begin at verse 20.
The book of St. John, chapter 5 and verse 20.
Read.
For the Father loveth the Son.
He did what?
For the Father loveth the Son.
So remember, everything here that is showing is significant. Because the Father loves his Son. Now remember, Israel also is a son. Does that make sense to you?
Time.
And it's in the book of Exodus where it makes that clear. You know where that scripture is, right?
Yes, sir.
So, you continue to read that. Go ahead.
And showeth him.
And showeth what?
And showeth him all things that himself doeth.
And showeth him, read it again, stop and look again, read that again.
For the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth.
So the Father, because he loves his Son, he does what?
Slaki. Showeth him all things that himself done.
So he shows his Son all the things that he can do, so that his Son can do likewise. Now, what you're saying, well, what's that got to do with Israel? You know, because Israel also is a firstborn. Exodus chapter 4 and 22. And also hit up 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 58. Right. Let's pull that real quick.
Exodus 4 and 22.
Exodus 4 and 22.
Exodus chapter 4 and verse 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Most High, Israel is my son.
Israel is what? Hold it, slow it down. Israel is what, sir?
Israel is my son.
There it is. Israel is my son. Now again, I'm slowing this down because I need you to really get this. Because what we're going to say later on is going to affect the foundation of where we are in the beginning of this. Right? So he said, remember, we just read where he said in the book of John 5 and 19, and then Yahushua answered and said, 20, he said, for the Father loveth the Son and showeth him all things, so that he doeth. But now it's saying, go on.
Exodus chapter 4 verse 22.
Read, sir.
And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Most High, Israel is my son, even my firstborn.
Even my firstborn. Now, you say, but hold on, that's confusing because we just read where it said that Yahushua was his first. So how is Israel? The difference is Yahushua is his first son who became like him, to do things like him. That's why we read, switch back to John 5
yes,
and 20.
St. John chapter 5 verse 20. For the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth.
See? So he's showing his Son all the things that he does, so that his Son can do them also. We'll finish it for me.
He will show him greater works than these, that ye may marvel.
See? So there you're seeing that he's showing his Son so that his Son would do greater works. But now when we go back, if you please, to Exodus chapter 4 and 22.
Exodus chapter 4 verse 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Most High, Israel is my son, even my firstborn.
Read.
And I say unto thee, let my son go.
Let my son go. Read.
That he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn.
Even thy firstborn. So we see that's why Israel is so special. Because Israel holds a special place because he also is a son.
God.
A firstborn. Any questions from anyone so far? Have I lost you? You still with me? You good?
Because I remember you once taught that the word prince means first.
Correct.
And Israel means prince of
Correct.
power.
Prince of the power. He's the first of the power. Now that power we haven't yet experienced yet. But we're going to experience that power, which is spiritual power in the kingdom. Oh, this is good. But anyway, go ahead.
And that's why he said double will be given to on Israel.
Absolutely. So double will be given to Israel. So double will be the power.
Right.
Whoa. This is something. It gets, your head begins to get dizzy when you start to work with this. Go ahead. Right. So Israel is the firstborn. All firstborn are entitled to double portion. So that means then if we are Israel, which we are according to the scriptures, that means not only do we get an air of blessing in terms of the powers that he's going to drop to us, but we're going to get it doubly. You see? That's why our minds and our spirit has to be changed, because that's going to be too much power for someone who's loose and full of the foolishness. But you have to be disciplined. You have to be like his son. And that's why the scripture says, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. We will be like Yahushua in John chapter 5, sir, and verse 20. Read it again, if you please.
John chapter 5, verse 20. For the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him, and showeth him all things.
And showeth him what?
All things.
And showeth him all things, right?
Come.
So, can you imagine what he's going to show us? Can you imagine the things that we're going to know and do? I mean, the mind boggles.
That's right.
Do you think we've just been made to sit on this planet and just see everything here? No doubt, there's still a lot for us to see, because we haven't ventured under the oceans yet.
Mm-hmm.
There are mountains no man has climbed yet. There are things on top of those mountains we've never seen. So can you imagine the things we've yet to explore on this terra firma versus where it's going to take us into the outer galaxies?
That's right.
It's going to be mind-blowing. No wonder it's going to be a double portion. What's with that second Ezra, sir? Second Ezra 6 and 20 and 58.
Second Ezra in the Apocrypha, chapter 6 and verse 58. But we thy people.
But we what?
But we thy people.
We thy people, go ahead.
Whom thou hast called thy firstborn.
Whom thou hast called his firstborn. So if anyone's having any challenges with this, just pucker up, because it's getting good here. Read.
Thy only begotten and thy fervent lover are given into their hands.
See? So we have this. He has given it to us. Now you had a question, Dr. D, you had a question earlier on? No?
I just wanted, you said Israel was the first one, but Yahushua was the first one to do the works. Is that what you said?
Right. But because our Father which is in heaven made himself a son. His son is Yahushua, whom the world calls Jesus. Right? He was the first that was made of everything. Nothing was made before him. So our God, Yahweh, made a son whose name is Yahweh Shai, and he is the one. All right, I'm going off topic just a little bit, but I have to. Let's go to Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 8, begin at verse 22. Yes. Because this will help you to understand that when he made his son, nothing else was made. Read.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 8 and verse 22. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way.
This is Yahweh possessing Yahushua. Read.
Before his works of old, I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was.
See? So he was set up from the beginning, before the earth was, because he made the earth. It was Yahushua who made the earth, because his Father made him. Everything that was in the Father to make and to be in existence, the Son had it in him because he came from the Father. So he made man, he made the angels, he made everything. Angels weren't made with Yahushua. No, angels came after Yahushua. Read.
When there were no depths, I was brought forth.
Read.
When there were no fountains abounding with water.
Read.
Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth.
Read.
While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world.
Read.
When he prepared the heavens, I was there.
Read.
When he set a compass upon the face of the depth. When he established the clouds above. When he strengthened the fountains of the deep. when he gave to the sea his decree, that the waters should not pass his commandment.
Read.
When he appointed the foundations of the earth.
Stop at 30, read.
Then I was by him,
See?
as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him.
See? So that makes it as plain as day
God.
that his son was made first.
That's right.
Israel, we were his earthly subjects. Well, we were first his heavenly subjects by way of spirit,
God.
and then put into an earthly pocket or suit and placed on earth. So we were the first. Even though when he made all of mankind, he made us the ones that all the other nations looked to. Because we were all, according to Genesis chapter 5 and 1, I think it is, we were all at that time called Adamites. Genesis chapter 5 and 1, please.
Yes, sir.
It's all right. I pushed, but that's what I thought to do.
All
Go ahead.
praises. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 1. This is the book of the generations of Adam.
See? This is the book of the generation of Adam. The gene line.
God.
The genesis of Adam. Read.
That Yahweh created man. In the likeness of Yahweh made he him.
Read.
Male and female created he them.
Read.
And blessed them, and called their name Adam.
So they are all of man was called Adam. All of them. All of them were called Adam. There are different divisions of Adam, but they're all called Adam.
God.
But out of that, he selected the whole earth. So why is this man Adam being made king of the whole earth? He's making him king of the whole earth because that's his son now in fleshly form. Now that's not our teaching. That's a bit too heavy at this point. Some of you have already touched upon it. But let's now jump back if we please. All right? We good?
God.
All right. To answer your question, sis? Good. All right. Now, let's go back, if you please, to John. Now, let's read John chapter 5 and verse 21.
St. John chapter 5 verse 21.
Watch this now.
For as the Father raiseth up the dead, and quickeneth them, even so the Son quickeneth whom he will.
So that power is being given to the Son, that he can raise up dead or make dead. Read.
For the Father judgeth no man, but hath committed all judgment unto the Son.
So it is not the Father in heaven who's going to do the judging, but the Son is going to do the judging.
God.
Right? You know, the Christian church says, and God's going to do, and God's going to, but here it is, it's telling you, the Son is going to do it. It's the Son. There's a reason why the Son is involved here.
That's right.
And
Did you
that's
have a question?
passage for me, we must all appear before the judgment seat of
Correct.
Mashiach.
We must all appear before the judgment seat of the Mashiach.
God.
All right, read on.
Verse 23. That all men should honor the Son.
Honor who?
Honor the Son.
Read.
Even as they honor the Father.
So as you honor the Son, you honor the Father. You can't just honor the Father and not honor the Son.
That's right.
Read.
He that honoreth not the Son honoreth not the Father, which
Read.
hath sent him.
Read.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word, and believeth on him that sent me, have everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation,
Read.
but is passed from death unto life.
From death unto life. So we are going to move from death unto life because he has spoken it on his people. It's automatic if we keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. Read.
Verily, verily, I say unto you,
He's saying verily, verily again. Read.
the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of Yahweh.
Read.
And they that hear shall live.
So it's the Son that they're going to hear in order to get up from the grave.
Come.
It's the Son. All right. It's not that the Father is not involved, because the Father has put the authority in his Son, and the Son has the mind of his Father. Question, go ahead.
Will the Son actually be speaking, or will the angels be speaking on his behalf, as Yahweh has the
Right.
angels?
The angels, you will find, primarily always speak on the behalf of the Son. Because he's a king. That's why Yahushua is God. Is he the God? No, because the God is the Father.
That's right.
But he operates just like his Father. Sons copy their dads. That's why dads have got to. You watch any son. If you never saw the father, you watch the son, and then when you see the father, you go, yeah, that's your son, right? And they go, yes. How do you know? Yeah. Because everything you see him play out and do, characteristics, attitudes, and gestures, then when you see the father, you begin to see, I'm seeing the older version where it originated from. Question, go ahead.
This is what we just read, verse 25.
25.
Hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son. Is that dual?
Say it again.
Is that dual? Does that have dual meaning? Meaning that, yes, those that are physically dead, when they hear the voice of the Son, their bodies will be quaking and raised. But does it also apply to Israel now? Those that are waking up, coming in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very well observed. Good. It is definitely a dual meaning. It has a double connotation. Because those that are in a dead state right now, it says, verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is come, not is come in. It is come. We are, when this was read, the hour is coming, it's now is come. We are in it now. And now is, you see, it confirms it, and now is. When the dead shall hear the voice of the Son, when his prophets or his men go out onto the street and reading the scriptures and prophesying the word, those that are dead will hear, but it will not be every one of them that are going to hear it. I'll prove that in a minute as well. This is going to be quite healthy, this teaching. But also in the future, when the dead are dead, and he comes and he makes a cry, like the voice of an archangel, then the dead in Christ shall rise. For those will raise up from the grave. Now some will raise up to everlasting destruction, meaning the nuclear missiles that's going to blitz the earth. They'll wake up and they'll look around and say, what the HELL is this? Because that was not what they had planned to wake up to. They were planning to wake up to heaven, angels, harps in their mind. But now, here it is, they wake up and damnation is around them. And they're running to escape it. And people are looking, the dead, they're running around. But that's so that they will go through an even worse tragedy. Because remember, some of them might have died in a peaceful way. Some of them may have escaped death and thought, well, it didn't happen to me. I'm dying here, my family's around me. Goodbye, everyone. I love you. And then they die. And they think they've missed it all. No. He's going to let you really taste it when you come back. So yes, it is a double connotation in that. But then, let's go ahead and read.
Verse 26. For as the Father have life in himself.
See, so as a father has life in himself, which we read earlier, remember, he has all of life in himself. Read.
So hath he given to the Son.
Read that bit again.
So hath he given to the Son.
So he is given also to the Son. How do we know that? We just read it in Proverbs, did we not? Made it very, very clear. Read.
To have life in himself.
To have life in himself. Making sense so far? Let's go to Amos chapter 9 and 8. Amos chapter 9 and 8. Question online, go ahead.
Officer Hugh Van says, raising from the grave, will it be their spirits or their last bodies?
It will be both their spirit and their last bodies. Why? Because that's what's going to be put under judgment. Because if you died, that man or that woman, and you were a devil, let me give you an example. Do you remember the Emmett Till? The woman who lied about him and he lost his life? Remember how brutally beaten he was, that the mother chose to leave the coffin open so the world would see, which was an excellent move. And what must have been grievous for her, but it was an excellent move. Because the world saw just how much of a devil those devils are. Now, do you think that that woman who lived, and by the way, she lived a long life and died peacefully. Now, do you think that individual is going to just wake up and nothing's going to happen? Can you imagine her waking up now in that future when everything is going off and everything is chaotic? Can you imagine the fright that's going to be in her mind and her body, the fear that's going to take hold? It will be like hell for her. And then to see the flames and the skin to melt off of their bones whilst they're standing or running. So this is why they think they've escaped, but they haven't escaped. That's why we just read in the scriptures where it said that the Most High gave life to the Son, which is the life that he also has in himself. And these people are going to wake up and they're going to suffer greatly. Do you think Hitler's gonna roll over and think, well, I escaped that bullet, I dodged that bullet? No, doctor, you coming back to taste some bullets. Yes?
What if cremated?
Cremated? Well, cremated doesn't mean anything. Because once he has called, no matter where those ashes are floated to, they'll all be coming back together. And remember, that's why most of these devils go through cremation, because they think, you can't bring this back. Do you know who you're talking to? He's the one who made you. He's going to pull everything back. It could have floated out to Alaska, and some have floated to the Africas. The wind will blow them all back, and they'll kind of come together again. And so, what the HE is doing here? See? All right. So go ahead. Amos 9 and 8.
The book of Amos, chapter 9 and verse 8. Behold, the eyes of the Most High, thy power.
Now, notice, when it uses the word, the eyes of the Most High, it means things are being written.
God.
Whenever you see the word eyes, it means there is a witness, there is being written, it's being logged, if there's making a report.
God.
So meaning that he sees everything and it's not going to disappear out of the minds of people because he's got it noted. So it says, behold, the eyes of Yahweh
are upon the sinful.
And by the way, you'll notice it said the eyes of the Lord. You'll notice that that's a capital L, lowercase O-R and D. See? Speaking of Yahweh Shai, as opposed to Yahweh, because if it was Yahweh, then it would be capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. But watch what it says. Read.
It says, behold, the eyes of the Most High, thy power, are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Most High Yahweh.
Read.
For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations.
Do what?
Sift the house of Israel among all nations.
Read on, sir.
Like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth.
Read.
All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us.
So, did you, it just gave you the answer, right? Read verse 11 again, please.
Verse 10.
Read verse 10 again, please.
All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us.
So they think that they're going to escape. But he says, well, even though you think you're going to escape, he says, you're not. Because I'm going to call you back. And if you felt like you didn't taste anything, you're going to taste it this time. Read verse 11, please.
Verse 11.
Watch it now.
In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins.
Now, his ruins here, when you see the word, I will raise up his ruins, that's speaking about his people.
That's right.
We are the ones that have been ruined.
God.
So he's going to raise us up. Read.
And I will build it as in the days of old.
So we are going back to the days of old when we had full authority and power with the Most High God. It's not speaking about how we were back in those days. That's not what it's speaking about. Days of old is speaking about our position with our Father.
God.
That's what's sweet about this, is that it's not saying we're going to go back to the times of Abraham, Moses, and all. No, it's saying we're going to go back to what was envisioned by the Father, how he saw us as a nation being embraced by him.
That's right.
We're going back to those days.
That's right.
Those are the days of heaven upon earth, which was his plan.
Absolutely. We're going back to those days.
Question.
Yes, sir.
There's a question online.
Go ahead.
There's some confusion as to the sequence of events as far as, anyway, I'll just read the question.
Okay.
Sister Nicoya says, so the spirit is risen from the grave. The spirit doesn't return to the Most High after death.
The Spirit does. The Spirit always returns back according to book of Job chapter 3. It always does that. But the same Spirit that returns to him, he will send it back. Remember, when we read in the scriptures, it says, let's prove that, shall we? Let's go to, let's prove it. Let's digress just for a quick minute. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and 16.
That's right. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3 and verse 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there.
All right, so it's showing you that the place of judgment was under the sun. If it's under the sun, it means it's on the earth. So the person was sent back to earth. So if you're wicked, don't think you're going to just die and that's it, that's the end of me. He'll send you back, either in a body that you will go through a terrible life. You will be born blind, dumb, or deaf, or paraplegic, or something. Or you'll be born normal, but you will go through hell whilst you're on earth.
Okay.
Because judgment has to take place on those individuals. That's why not even Hitler thinks he's going to get away with it. You know, Mussolini, all those guys, they thought that they died, it's over. There's nothing that can happen to me. Because, by the way, they understood and knew, by the way, that there was no such thing as a fiery hell. They knew that. They knew that that was something that was contrived by the churches to make people afraid so that they can pull money in and do all of those things. That's where all of that comes from, according to the teaching. That's where it comes from. What the Most High God is trying to do is to bring us to a place where we recognize that we're not under the precepts of men's understanding. And so when we read this now, it says, read verse 16 again.
And Salaki, verse 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment. That wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there.
All right, so it's letting you know that these things happen to show that the Most High God is bringing judgment on the people. They come back to earth. Now, let's say, for instance, this is the end time now. It's the end time that you know, everything's kicking off. So how do those who are evil, how do they get their comeuppance? Well, they're not going to be regenerated and pulled back. What is he going to do? He's going to just resurrect them from the grave and let them come back, and they will go through that experience of hell on earth. Make sense? Does that make sense? All right.
And also,
Question, go ahead.
Well, also you brought out the rich man and Lazarus.
Correct.
There was a parable. When the man came back, it looked like hell because he saw the flames.
Correct. Because when he came back, he was, yeah, absolutely. All right. So, still in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, all right, jump up to verse 20. There's none of that. Again, that's all Roman Catholic stuff. But it says, all go unto what? One place. Read.
All are of the dust.
All are of the dust. Read.
And all turn to the dust again.
And all turn to dust again. See? So it's making it very, very clear. All right? All right, let's get back on track. All right? So we just read Amos. Let's run to Psalms 122 and verse 5.
Psalms 122?
Yeah, Psalms 122 and 5. Let's read.
The book of Psalms, chapter 122 and verse 5. For there are set thrones of judgment.
All right, now, the reasons why it uses that term, because it's trying to indicate to us that there are different positions in the kingdom.
That's right.
That's why it says, for there are set thrones. There's an S on the end. To have thrones mean there's going to be more than one throne. But I thought you said that he's going to rule and he's going to be the only one. Well, he will be ruling the earth. But there are pockets within the earth that the Most High is going to have men who are going to be ruling over.
That's right.
So it says here, for there are set thrones, more than one, of judgment, meaning judgment will be handed out to other men to give it out. So remember what he did for his son, the prodigal son, he's also going to allow Israel, his firstborn, the same thing to happen for them too.
That's right.
You see? All right. So then it says, read.
The thrones of the house of David.
See, the thrones of the house of David. Different men will be ruling in different circumstances under Yahushua. Chiefly the disciples, followed by other significant men throughout the biblical history. Got that? So some of you in here will be ruling.
That's right.
If it be the will of Yahweh. And in the rulership now, it says, where will you be ruling? Under the house of David. Now, why does it use the house of David? Because it says house of David. That's why we read in the beginning. Go back to Revelations chapter 3 and verse 7, please. Why does it say the house of David? Because every house needs keys. So let's read.
Revelation chapter 3 and verse 7. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David.
See? So David, the key of David is for David's house.
That's right.
David's house has keys.
God.
And therefore, if you're going to be in a position to rule in one of the positions or one of the thrones in David's house, keys have to be given to you.
That's right.
That makes sense so far?
That's the only way you own the house.
Second?
It's the only way you own or rule your
That's
house.
right. That's the only way you can say that you own the house, because you have keys. If you go to the house and they say, is this your house? And say, yes, all right, let us in then. Oh, I don't have the keys. You don't own this house.
God.
Because if you owned it, you would be able to let me in. Now it gets even more powerful as we go on. But let's go, if you please, to Isaiah 22. Isaiah 22 and 20.
Isaiah 22 and 20.
Yes.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 22, verse 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah.
Now, read that again, if you please, just one more time.
And it shall come to pass in that day that I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah. Hilkiah.
In Isaiah 22 and 20, what do you understand from what you've just read? All right, read verse 21. Go ahead, read
Verse 21. And I will clothe him with thy robe, and strengthen him with thy girdle, and I will commit thy government into his hand, and he shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to the house of Judah.
Now, here's the thing. None of those things happened to him. None of those things happened to him. So if it didn't happen to him, why is it written there? Why is it written in the scriptures?
It's a precursor of who is going to happen to.
Exactly.
God.
It's a type and shadow of who is going to happen to. It's a type and shadow. As you rightly say, a precursor.
God.
So, if it's a precursor, what is it actually? So, what is it portraying? All right, go ahead.
It's portraying that this is what's going to happen to Israel in the future.
Well, yes, but remember, it's speaking about a particular name here. You're dealing with a man. Read 20 again.
This is Isaiah chapter 22, verse 20. And it shall come to pass in that day.
In that day. So, in that day, that means future.
God.
Read.
That I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah.
Right now, remember, if you study Eliakim and Hilkiah, you'll find that what you're about to read in verse 21 never ever took place. It didn't take place. If it didn't take place, it means then that this is a type and shadow speaking of someone else, but using Eliakim as a name figure for this. Con? All right.
Would
Got
it
a
be
question?
David? Because I know David's going to come back to rule.
Well,
No, not David.
no.
It'll be,
Let's read verse 21.
Verse 21. And I will clothe him with thy robe, and strengthen him with thy girdle, and I will commit thy government into his hand. And he shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
So this is speaking of Yahushua. Read 21 again. And so I'm sorry to be redundant. It's just I have to do this because I need people to get it. I don't want to just go through a lesson and then you'll nod and you didn't understand it. So that's why we're doing it this way. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And I will clothe him with thy robe.
Clothe him with thy robe. The robe that we read about in the scriptures is dealing with what? The knowledge, the word, the scriptures, etc. Read.
And strengthen him with thy girdle.
With the girdle, right? Holding together.
And
Read.
I will commit thy government into his hand.
And the government is going to be committed in his hand. We'll prove that in just a minute. Go ahead.
And he shall be a father.
He shall be what?
A father.
He'll be a father
To the inhabitants.
to the inhabitants of where?
Of Jerusalem.
And the inhabitants of Jerusalem is whom? Israel. Read.
And to the house of Judah.
And to the house of Judah. So letting you know, it's speaking about the tribes. Now, when we read verse 22, read.
And the key of the house of David.
Stop. So now it's talking about a key to the house of David, which remember what we said when we read Revelations chapter 3 and 7, that there has to be keys in order to have authority. And so it says here, and the keys of the house of David will what?
Will I lay upon his shoulders.
So the chastisement of our peace will be laid on him. Read.
So he shall open and none shall shut.
He shall open and none shall shut. Meaning, there will be some of us that he will let in because he will have mercy on us. Glory be to his name. Because some of you won't be deserving of it. But because of his mercy towards you and his tenderness towards you, he will have mercy on you and let you in. You know, if others are already guaranteed, Father, don't forget me. Let me be this one that you just let in here. And I'm being deadly serious. I'm making light of it but it's heavy right there.
There it is.
You see? So it's a very powerful verse in that respect. So when we go back to Revelation chapter 3 and 20, let's go there.
Can I read 23 real quick?
Yes, of course.
Verse 23. And I will fasten him as a nail in a sure place.
In a sure place. And whom was fastened with a nail in a sure place? Yahushua. Read.
And he shall be for a glorious throne.
Read.
To his father's house.
To his father's house. Salah. Well, you may as well read 24 since you're there too.
Come. Verse 24. And they shall hang upon him all the glory of his father's house.
Read.
And offspring.
And offspring.
And the issue, all vessels of small quantity, from the vessels of cups, even to all the vessels of flagons.
Flagons, yes, let's go. All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 3 and 20. You had a question?
This brings goosebumps.
Say again?
This brings goosebumps.
Yes, of course. It should make us sit up and be attentive at this point. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Will those who receive the mercy be from the 1/3 or the 2/3?
Well, see, that, remember, the 1/3 has already been selected. They're already selected. They're already a shoe-in. They just don't know it. That's why it's for them to continue to follow his law, statute, and commandment. But out of that 2/3 now, and maybe a few struggles you may look upon and say, all right, to you, in. To you, in. That's what I'm saying. If you find me over there, do find me, Father. Do.
Hallelujah.
You know, sweep me up in there.
Yes.
You got a question?
No, I was just.
Yeah, bro. Me too, man. Yes. Revelation chapter 3 and 20. Let's read.
The book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock.
So, he is standing at the door and knocking. What is he knocking? What is he knocking? He's knocking here.
That's right.
The Christian church, they say, he's knocking on my heart. No, he's not.
Man,
He's knocking here.
that's right.
When we talk to people, we're talking to their mind. We're not talking to their palm.
Come.
Read it again.
Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door.
Notice what he said. If any man, if any of you, now this is obviously generic, male or female, but it says that if any of you hear my voice, and you can only hear his voice if you are his sheep. It says, my sheep knows my voice. See? So, what did it say?
If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him.
I will come in. But you have to open the door. Every week we're out there, many of our jakes, they don't open the door. But guess who comes knocking? Esau comes, Moab comes, Ammon comes, all of them come, Elam comes, Hamites come, but Jake don't come. Isn't it something? And he says, and if any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him, and I will sup with him, and he with me.
That's right.
He wants to sup with you. Go ahead.
According to John 10:27, it says, my sheep hear my voice and I know them and they follow me. So if...
All right, go, let's go back. Go to it.
St. John chapter 10 verse 27.
Read.
My sheep hear my voice.
Read.
And I know them.
Read.
And they follow me.
And they do what?
And they follow me.
Now that's why when he went to Peter, James, and John, and all of them, when he spoke to them, they followed him. You heard me say it before. He didn't give a big sales presentation for them. He didn't do backflips and somersaults. He just said, follow me. And they stopped doing what they were doing and they followed him. Why? My sheep knows my voice. And when you hear it, there's something that resonates in your spirit that compels you to follow him.
That's right.
That's why many of you are here today. Because when you heard this, it didn't take a tug, a pull. You heard it and it resonated with you. It felt right. Question, go ahead.
My question based on that is, if they hear the word and they choose to forbear and they do not follow, they do not turn away from how they used to be, does that mean that they're not of the elect?
Not of the elect. The election only knows his voice. The election only knows him. No other way around it. All right? Any other questions? All right. Where were we? Revelations chapter, what did we read?
20.
Revelations what?
3 and 20.
3 and 20. Let's go to John 14 and 23.
John 14, 23.
All right, let's read.
The book of John, chapter 14 and verse 23. Yahushua answered and said unto him, if a man love me,
And now that's if you love him, read.
he will keep my words,
Keep his words, read.
and my Father will love him.
And his Father will love him. So in order for you to have the Father love you, you have to first do what? Keep the words of Yahushua. Read.
And Salaki, and make our abode with him.
And do what?
And make our abode with him.
And we will come unto him.
That's right.
And do what?
And make our abode with him.
And make our abode with him. That's heavy right there.
Yes, sir.
Let's read, let's jump to 15 and 10 just for a quick minute. Go ahead.
John chapter 15 and verse 10. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love.
So, going back to what we've just read now, in John 14 and 23, we must, in the latter clause of 23, it says what? Read the latter clause for me, please. And
John chapter 14, verse 23. We will come unto him.
We will come unto him.
And make our abode with him.
So now it's speaking like this is a house. The house is your body, and it must be occupied by the Father. Make a note of that, please. The house is the body, and it must be occupied by the Father. Remember, there are other bodies that are being occupied by spiritual demons. In this case, Satan. That's why you'll find others are doing what their master wants them to do. And they're following their master by being crazy and killing and doing all the nonsenses that they're doing, and dancing and drugging. All of those things, they do it because their body is occupied by a demon, and that spirit is making them do those things because they've yielded to it. Here he's saying, if you want the Father to abode with you, that's why it says in the latter clause, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him.
God.
That is what it's saying, right? My eyes are not deceiving.
God.
Now that word abode means this, to make this my home. Is the Father at home with you? You have to have that clear. Because if he's not at home with you, that means you've locked him out. And if you've locked him out, then he in turn will lock you out. And when he shuts, the scripture says, no man can open. Is that clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Isaiah, let's go back to Isaiah 22 and 22. Let's go back there. That seems like an appropriate time for us to revisit that. 22, 22.
22.
Let's read.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 22, verse 22. And the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder. So he shall open, and none shall shut. And he shall shut, and none shall open.
Read.
And I will fasten him as a nail in a sure place. And he shall be for a glorious throne to his father's house.
So that makes more perfect sense to you. Khan? All right. Job chapter 12 and 14. Job chapter 12 and verse 14. Let's read.
The book of Job, chapter 12 and verse 14. Behold, he breaketh down, and it cannot be built again. He shutteth up a man, and there can be no opening.
See? So now you're understanding the purpose of the key. Now you understand the purpose of why it says to abhor, to make this his home. Because he's making it crystal clear here. And the crystal clarity of it is him saying what he has said, which is simply this: behold, he breaketh down, and it cannot be built again. So when he tears a man down, that's it, your life is over, it's finished, kaput. But then if you are with him, and he said, and there can be no opening. There's no opening for you ever getting back into this thing. That's why when someone has, when our people have messed up with this thing, that's it, it's done. You are the 2/3, And you're going to get everything that comes with that. Read the next verse, please.
Verse 15. Behold, he withholdeth the waters, and they dry up. Also he sendeth them out, and they overturn the earth.
Jump to 16.
Verse 16. With him is strength and wisdom.
And wisdom.
The deceived and the deceiver are his.
See? So if someone is deceived, it's because he wants to deceive you. Meaning you are not part of the election.
God.
So when you see someone not getting this, no matter how you're pushing them to try and let them get it, to wake up to see it, you're wasting your time, because read verse 16 again.
Job chapter 12 verse 16. With him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his.
So if you're being deceived, it's because he's doing it.
God.
If this person is not getting this, it's because he does not want the person to get it.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, but Pastor, I'm sure I can get him. I'm sure I can get her. Really? How can you go against the Most High God? He doesn't want them, so what are you doing? Because this is not the time for them.
God.
They have to go through destruction. You got your hand up?
I was just waiting for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, because what you just said, that's why the Messiah, isn't that why he said that they should hear with their ears and turn that I should heal them? He would say things and they couldn't understand it. And then he also said precept must be upon precept,
Correct.
so that people would stumble.
Correct. Because he said that he will be that stone of stumbling.
God.
So when people stumble, you think, oh, they're just not getting it. I just go work with them. He is the one making himself the stumbling block with that person. It's not for them. Sometimes I'm out with the brothers and they're talking to the person, and I'll say to the brothers, it's not for them. And they kind of look at me like, well, you know, this is what we're here to do. But you can see by the actions of the person,
God.
you're wasting your time.
God.
And sometimes for code, we'll say things like pearls, pearls.
Pearls.
So the brother gets it, because why are you wasting your time casting your pearls before swine?
God.
I mean, you understand that, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, John 3 and 33.
John 3:30.
It's in John 3 and 33. Go ahead.
The book of St. John, chapter 3 and verse 33. He that hath received his testimony hath set to his seal that Yahweh is true.
So, this is what we have to not miss here. Read it slowly again.
God. St. John chapter 3 verse 33. He that hath received his testimony
He that has received his testimony, read,
hath set to his seal
has set to his seal, read,
that Yahweh is true.
right, meaning certified. You are asserted that this is right. This is no lie. You got that? So the key word that we have to deal with here is the word seal. Let's see where we go with that. Let's go back to Revelations. Revelations chapter 3 and 8. Revelation chapter 3 and 8. Let's read.
Revelation chapter 3 and verse 8. I know thy works.
You know what?
I know thy works.
Read.
Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it.
See that? So he knows the works that you are doing. This is why a lot of times people don't understand. When you come out to the Sabbath, it's called work.
God.
It's considered to be work. So he says, read it again.
I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it.
No man can shut it. So when you go out on the street, when you are telling your people about this truth, when you are coming to the Sabbath, when you are keeping the feast, all those things are works.
God.
He says, I know thy works. Go ahead.
Behold, I have set before thee an open door,
An open door, read.
and no man can shut it.
Read.
For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name.
You have not denied his name. Read.
Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews.
So all those who say that they are Jews, I'm going to make them the devil's host. Read.
And are not, but do lie.
But do what?
Do lie.
Read.
Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee.
So, how they got into this position goes back to John Hyannis, but that's in the Apocrypha. But it also goes back to a Khazarian empire, or emperor, whose name was Bulan. B-U-L-A-N. Bulan. You can Google all of this, so I won't go into it. He was one of those Turks, Khazarians, and so on. Now, he was the one that pushed to pick up all of the things of our people. He pushed that. But here's what he also recognized, that the real ones are still in existence. So it has been a mandate among the Khazarians to operate to shut down the real Jews, and for them, the Khazarians, to slowly take their place. That's why they were so willing to finance the ships and the discovery of going into West Africa to find who the so-called Africans they call us, but they call us Jews. They also financed to go all over Europe and to get the Jews there. Some of the noble Jews who were noblemen, noble families, those individuals, they went there and they took them by chains, put them on cargo ships, and sailed them across the ocean. Now, before the Americas, they were planting them on the islands of the West Indies. Many of you are taught that they went from there, from the Africa, straight to America. That's not true. Read the history, check the timeline, you'll realize it didn't happen that way, because they didn't even discover it yet.
That's right.
But the islands that they did, and they didn't know that the Americas was right next door to where the Caribbean islands were. They didn't know this. It was after a number of studies that this started to become plain. And we will do a teaching on that maybe before the end of the year. But to bring it all up to date without going into that history, we have to, let me ask you, do you remember how this all came about? What was the push for them to then jump into modern day history and become us, and make it a worldwide thing? Who can tell me what that was? What did they use to do that? So, say? The Belfort Agreement. It was from 1920 to 1947 that the British started to develop a mandate to Palestine with the Israelis, okay? And then in 1948, they created what was known as the State of Israel is born. This was indeed a setup by the fake Jews to once and for all completely take our identity. So you'll see the identity of stealing from us was affirmed in 1948, just around the corner.
That's right.
So when you're thinking, oh, this took place back in the 1600s, in the 1600s, they still were trying to establish themselves because it was prominently known that the Jews were black. And I have many books having the scholars actually saying this. They've written about it. They have said that they are tall, good-looking people with a beautiful dark skin sheen. The Jews, that's what they're saying. You know, they were, some of them were even trying to make it seem like we were ugly, and they couldn't even do that. So when they couldn't say anything about the beauty of our looks, guess what they then did? They said, but their hair was kinky. That's why I hate that term, see? And that's why I take offense when I hear our own people use it, because you're using what the devil says. So they were using those terms. We don't have kinky hair. We have hair that works with and without gravity. Nobody has our hair. For them to be able to work against gravity, they need spray to stiffen that hair up so it stands up. But we can flick it up and it stays up, and we can damp it down with some water, it comes down. We can do anything with our hair. Did you not see how the Egyptians would turn their hairline into like a helmet? We are a fascinating race of people, but we have been taught to have self-hate. Now, without sticking too heavily on that, let's make a note of what the biblical name of those people who imitate us are called. They're called Amalek. The biblical name is Amalek. A-M-A-L-E-K. Amalek. Now, let's go to Exodus chapter 17 and verse 15.
17 and 15?
17 and 15. Go ahead, son.
The book of Exodus, chapter 17 and verse 15.
Now, just before we do that, jump back up to verse 8 just for a quick minute, because I want to show you something. Please go ahead.
Exodus chapter 17 and verse 8. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim.
Right. Rephidim. Now, here's what I want you to see, ladies and gentlemen, is this. That the Bible says they are always going to be at war with us. Always. Now you're thinking, well, you know, that doesn't happen. No, they're at war with us now, numbskull. It's just that they're doing it different. They're doing it now by manipulation. They have us running up and down a court with a ball. They have us now running our lungs out and dodging and becoming paralyzed before we're 30 years of age, and we get so beaten up that when we're done with that, we can't even get a job. Yet we're pushing our children to become football players, baseball players, basketball players. No, really, that's another form of slavery. So read from 8 and 9 again, if you please.
Exodus chapter 17 and verse 8. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men, and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of Yahweh in mine hand.
So we are always going to be at war with them, and we will be that way to the very end. Are you seeing this, ladies and gentlemen? Now, let's read verse 15 and 16 together. Watch this now.
Verse 15. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Yahweh Nisi. For he said, because the Most High have sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
See? So we're going to have a fight with them from generation to generation. That's not going to change. So don't think because we're not at war. We're at war. And we're going to continually be at war with them until they are completely wiped out. In fact, jump back to verse 14. Read what that said, because you need to see what he says there.
Verse 14. And the Most High said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book.
See, so he said, make a record of this. Because this is going to be a memorial, something for you to remember. Read.
And rehearse it in the ears of Joshua.
And make sure it is continually said in the ears of your leaders. Read.
For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven.
See that? They are never going to exist again. They're going to be utterly wiped out. Amalek is going to be wiped out the same way that Edom, according to Obadiah, is going to be wiped from the face of the earth. But we quick to want to, oh, I know some Jews, we can get with them, we can get some business, get some contracts. Forget that mess. Because we've allowed ourselves to believe that they are the ones that can open doors. The only reason why they are where they are is because the Most High put them there. Because we wouldn't do according to the law. And that's why in this book here, it tells us, okay, let's go there. I showed it to some of you the other day, but let's go back there, please. All right, so 2nd Ezra, chapter 1 and verse 24. We're not going to go deep into this because I want to get back on track. But I just want to do this because, again, it's in our mind to keep in our spirit. Read for me, please, officer.
In the Apocrypha, 2nd Ezra, chapter 1, verse 24. What shall I do unto thee, O Jacob? Thou, Judah, wouldest not obey me. I will turn me to the other nations.
See, because we won't obey him, he said, I'm going to turn to the other nations. I'm going to give them your blessing. Why do you think they're so blessed? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if they are so blessed now, and that's just really the Lord just giving a drop of the blessing on them, and look how they're blessed, by the way. They own everything. Can you imagine when we get our full dose of that blessing? If you look at the Jews and see how they're blessed now, and that's just a drop, can you imagine where you are going to be in the kingdom of the Most High God? Read, sir.
I will turn me to other nations, and to Salaki, and unto those will I give my name, that they may keep my statutes.
See? Because the time we can't go any further, but there's more there. But you get it? Can't? So then when we go back now to Exodus chapter 17 and verse 15, we already read 14, he's going to completely wipe them out of memory. But then let's read 15 and 16 again, if you please.
Exodus chapter 17, verse 15. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Yahweh Nisi, for he said, because the Most High have sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
We're going to have war from generation to generation.
That's right.
Jeremiah 23 and 20.
Jeremiah 23:20.
Yes, sir.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 23 and verse 20. The anger of the Most High shall not return until he have executed, until he have performed the thoughts of his heart. In the latter days ye shall consider it perfectly.
See? So he says he's angry. He is motivated with anger. And when you read on, it says,
verse 21, I have not sent these prophets, yet they reign. I have not spoken to them, yet they prophesy.
See, so there are a lot of people out there who are talking about prophecy, and you know how they were doing one time, going and saying, I prophesied this, you're going to get a car, you're going to get a house. I mean, really? He said, I've not sent them, yet they run. I've not spoken to them, yet they prophesy. Where's all this mess coming from? And then jump to 24 and 25.
Verse 24, can any hide himself in secret places, that I shall not see him, saith the Most High? Do not I feel heaven and earth, saith the Most High? I have heard what the prophet said. What prophecy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed.
Read.
How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies? Yea, they are prophets of the deceit of their own heart.
Read.
Salaki, which think to cause my people to forget my name.
See, and that's what we've done. That's why when we come up now, we're telling people his name is Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. They look, where'd you get that from?
Right.
I just love the name Jesus. Something about that. There's something about that name. Yes, that's right, brother. Go on.
Think, Salaki, which think to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams, which I tell every man to his neighbor, as their fathers have forgotten my name for Baal.
For Baal. Meaning, what that means for Baal, meaning, forgotten my name for Baal, because Baal is the word Lord.
God.
That's why in the scriptures, everywhere that his name should be, you read the word Lord. Not realizing that really you're calling Baal. That's why when we read it, who are of the mind of Yahweh, we say the Almighty, or we say the Most High, or we say etc. etc. You see, we make those replacements. That's why when some people hear us read, they say, well, why do you keep saying that? Because that's what we're supposed to say. Because everywhere that, read it again, read the latter clause of 27 again, just to make sure people don't listen this.
Yes, sir. Tell every man to his neighbor, as their fathers have forgotten my name for Baal.
For Baal, for the word Lord. Read on.
The prophet that have a dream, let him tell a dream. And he that have my word, let him speak my word faithfully.
Read.
What is the chaff to the wheat, saith the Most High.
Saith the Most High. See? Because we're even saying Lord there. Remember, it's capital L-O-R-D. Meaning that's the name of Yahweh that should be there. That's what the name should be right there, Yahweh.
God.
And even if they didn't put the name Yahweh there, at least the tetragrammaton should be there.
God.
Which is Yahweh, which is the initials. But they don't even do that. Because you see how they have corrupted the scriptures? Is this making sense to you all? All right, let's go to Revelations, please. Revelation chapter 3 and 9, let's go back. Hold on, we did that. Bear with me. 13 and 9. 13 and 9, which you all are familiar with. Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 13 and verse 9. If any man have an ear,
if you have an ear, read.
Let him hear.
Hear this, go on.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
So it's telling you clearly here that if you took people into captivity, you also must go into captivity. Read.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
So if you kill with a sword, you have to die by the sword. Is that right? Go on.
Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
So, is that correct, ladies and gentlemen? Huh? Is that right, by the way? I mean, just to make sure that we're all on the same page here. Matthew 18 and 6 for me, please. All right, let's go.
The book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 6. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me.
So here is what he's saying. you have messed with the little ones. Why does he use the word little ones? Because we are the last nation to be formed.
God.
He made 18 nations. Israel is the last nation. Why is that? Anyone? Why is Israel the last nation? He made 18, and Israel is the last nation that he, as a people, that he made a nation, made them last. Why? Huh?
The best for last.
Yes, but give me scripture. Keep in mind what you just said. Give me the scripture to that. Yes. Where is it? That's the scripture. That's the reason why he made us last. There's a reason for that. Why is that? Give me the scripture. Got it? Matthew 26.
Matthew 20, verse 16.
20 and verse 16. Let's go.
The book of Matthew, chapter 20, verse 16. So the last shall be first, and the first last. For many be called, but few chosen.
See? Now while you're out there, go to Matthew 18 and 6.
Matthew chapter 18, verse 6. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea.
Luke 17 and 2. Same thing again, but just different slight angle to it. 17 and 2.
The book of Luke, chapter 17, verse 2. It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he cast into the sea, than that he should offend one of these little ones.
See that? So that why use the word little? Because we're still little in terms of the nations. But when he comes to bring us out, we will be great nation of people. Make sense to you? All right. Revelations chapter 3 and 10. Okay.
The book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth.
Now, the hour that is speaking about is not a literal hour, but every one of you who prescribe to this truth, you are going to go through a great temptation.
That's right.
Let's read it again, sir.
Revelation chapter 3, verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation.
So he's letting you know that because you've kept his word, he says he's going to keep you from the hour of temptation, meaning it's coming to us all. You're not going, it doesn't make any difference which group, camp you're with, you're going to go through a period that's going to tempt you greatly.
Come.
And where you think you are now, you're not there. It's going to be so heavy on you that if you are not truly riveted in this truth, you're going to be lost. So because you're in this truth now and you come to the Sabbath and you're enjoying this, and some of you are going on the street and doing the ministry, you think, well, you know, I'm good. Well, you see, you won't know that you're good until you endure to the end.
That's right.
This is about getting to the end. Because some of you, something will come and tempt you so greatly, you will throw in the towel and you'll be out.
Come.
I know it's hard for some of you to believe this, but that's what, read it again, sir, because I need people to get this.
Revelation chapter 3, verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth.
Read.
Behold, I come quickly.
That's why he says it's coming quickly, because he knows if he doesn't come quickly, you won't be able to withstand it.
God.
So he's going to come quickly so that you can get out of what you're in order to get into what it is that he's trying to bring you to. Finish it.
Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown.
That no man takes your crown. Daniel 12:1. Daniel chapter 12:1. Let's read.
The book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 1. And at that time, Michael, stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book.
In the book. So what it's saying that this that he's speaking about here, this time of the end, is going to be greater than the bubonic plague. It's going to be greater than any AIDS epidemic. What's the other thing that happened in Africa that they poisoned all the Ebola plague? It's going to be greater than anything you've ever seen. A time is coming that's going to truly test you. So Jeremiah 13:6.
They made a movie about that called Outbreak.
Outbreaks, yes.
13:6.
13 and 6.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 6. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child.
See? Read it again, please.
Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child.
Read.
Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness.
So you'll find that even the people are going to find themselves in a state where they are going to, or men are going to be like women perishing, feeling afraid. But some of the men will be hiding behind women. Shows how pathetic the men are going to get.
Holding his loins.
Yeah. It's going to be pathetic when that happens. Let's read on.
Verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, for he shall be saved out of it.
So he's telling you that even though it's going to come, you're going to be saved out of this. But you have to be able to hold on. Because some of you are going to be like this. You're going to be drowning. And you know what some of you are going to do? You'll let go and you'll just drown. It's like holding on. You wait for someone to come and pull you in, but you give up and you let go of the lifesaver, and then you go under. The Most High is going to test just how strong you are. Can you really hold on? Do you have it together? But back in the Christian church, we say, turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, are you going to hold on?
God.
To God's unchanging.
To God's unchanging hands.
Pastor, back in Revelation, when we got the precept, when he said, hold fast, that which I'll have. That fast is like a death grip. You know?
Yeah, it's for life and death.
God.
Are you going to survive? You know, lest any man take your crown. 2 Ezra chapter 15 and 16, please. 2 Ezra 15 and verse 16.
God.
Read.
In the Apocrypha, 2 Ezra, chapter 15, verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the courses of their actions shall stand in their power.
Read.
A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid.
There it is. It's going to be a terrible, terrible time. Some of us in here will go through that. You will go through it. And these teachings, why we teach it, is to help you to grasp in your spirit to know how to survive. We'll start to finish this up a little bit now. Let's go to Revelations chapter 3 and 11. Let's read that one more time, if you please.
Revelation 3 and 11.
And then we're going to go back to 2nd Ezra.
Come. The book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 11.
Yep.
Behold, I come quickly.
I come what?
I come quickly.
He's coming quickly.
Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown.
Be careful lest any man takes your crown. 2nd Ezra 2 and 40, please. 2nd Ezra 2 and verse 40.
2:14.
2nd Ezra 2 and verse 40.
Come. 2nd Ezra in the Apocrypha, chapter 2 and verse 14. Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of the Most High.
See, you fulfill the law of the Most High. Read on.
The number of thy children, whom thou longest for,
Now, when it says the number of thy children, that word number is speaking about it has been fulfilled, that the 1/3 has been saved.
Come.
You want to make a note of that, because you'll read it again and you won't understand why it says that. It means the number of thy children whom thou what?
Longest for.
Longest for. That is the 1/3. Read.
Is fulfilled. Beseech the power of the Most High, that thy people have been called from the beginning.
From the beginning. Read on.
May be hallowed.
May be hallowed.
I-
Because that's what you were made for. You were made holy from the beginning.
Come.
Read on.
I, Esdras, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people, whom I could not number, and they all praised the Most High with songs.
Read.
And in the midst of them there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest.
So in the kingdom, you will know Yahushua, because he'll be the one who will be bigger than every other man. He will stand out. Now, notice it uses the word tall in stature, because tallness runs in our bloodline.
Come.
We don't call it giant. Right? We don't call it giant. Tall in stature. Read.
And upon every one of their heads he set crowns.
He set crowns. Read.
And was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly.
Read.
So I asked the angel, and said, Sir, what are these?
All right, let's stop from there.
Okay.
So you see, that's why the scripture says, be careful lest anyone steal thy crown. We read that in Revelations chapter 3 and 11, right?
Come.
The affirmative precept to that is what you read in 2nd Ezra chapter what? 2 and 2.
Come.
2nd Ezra 2, 40 to 43. Good?
Come.
So when we now go back to Revelations 2 and 25, Revelations chapter 2 and 25, let's bring it home now. Let's bring it home.
Revelation chapter 2, verse 25. But that which ye have already, hold fast till I come.
So that which you have already, what did he say?
Hold fast till I come.
Read.
And he that overcometh and keepeth my works.
And remember, you keep his works.
That's right.
The Feast of Tabernacles, keep his works. Pentecost, keep his works. So all of these feasts are his works. That's why he's saying you've got to keep them. This is part of our works. This is part of our labor. Read.
Until the end.
Until the end. You've got to keep it until the end. Read.
To him will I give power over the nations.
Now why it says power over the nations? Because you will be like Yahushua in the kingdom. Wherever you walk, listen, there's not going to be no hospitals.
God.
Let's get that right. There's not going to be any hospitals. Because hospital means beds. Hospital, and it's, you and I both know, it's a racket. But in the kingdom, what will happen is, you will be among the nations. Those who will need to be healed, they're going to ask you, and you will lay hands on them, and what do you think is going to happen? They're going to be healed. And remember, there's going to be so many of us that we will be able to meet all the needs. Someone gets sick, oh, there's an Israelite. Let's go and ask them. This is why, if you can't get it into your mind right now, and forgive me if I'm pushing this too hard, I would just need you to realize you're going to be somebody special in the kingdom.
That's right.
That's why it says, and he that overcometh and keepeth my words, my works, unto the end. You're going to get to the end with this. To him will I give power over the nations. You will have power over the nations to heal, to deliver. Wow. Let's read verse 27 once we're out there.
Yes, sir. Verse 27. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
With a what?
With a rod of iron.
Rod of iron.
As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father.
Do you know there was a law? By the way, this law has never been omitted. It's a law that says if you accidentally kill a black slave whilst punishing them, you will do no time served.
So that's why the killing's going on.
Do you know that's a law that was never revoked? So now you understand why when a policeman shoots or beats or strangles our people, they get away with it.
God.
And the only way that that can be solved is that it has to be brought to court. That's the only way to deal with it.
That's right.
That's why if this situation doesn't go to court, they get away with it,
God.
as they have continually done.
God.
It has never been revoked. I'll send you. I'll find it and I'll send it to you. And then look it up. It's still empowered. That's the technicality that these officers get off with. All right, let me get my blood pressure back down. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 2 and 1.
Hebrews 2 and 1.
Let's read.
Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 1. Therefore, we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard.
Which you have what?
Which we have heard.
Heard, read.
Lest at any time.
Lest at what?
Lest at any time.
Read.
We should let them slip.
We should let them slip. Read.
For if the word spoken by angels.
Spoken by angels, read.
Was steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received a just recompense of reward.
Of reward. Now, the angels are speaking about is those who are the prophets who were sent. That's the angels speaking about, not angels, winged angels, all that. It's speaking about those who are the prophets. Let's go to Galatians 3 and 12, please. Galatians chapter 3 and 12, let's go there.
The book of Galatians, chapter 3 and verse 12.
Go ahead.
And the law is not of faith, but the man that doeth them shall live in them.
Read it again.
The law is not of faith, but the man that doeth them shall live in them.
You have to do them. Did you read 12?
Yes, sir.
Read 13.
Yahushua have redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree.
On a tree. Now, just to go back to what we opened up with, we were dealing with the Church of Philadelphia. Make a note of this. The word Philly, as some of you are aware, we've done this before, means love. Adelphus means brother. So when we say Philadelphia, Adelphus is brother, Philly means love. Hence the term Philadelphia, brotherly love. All right, just a few more scriptures and we're finished. Revelations chapter 3 and 12. Let's read that one more time.
Revelation chapter 3 and verse 12. Him that covereth, Salaki, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my Yahweh.
Now, what does it mean that you're going to be made a pillar? It doesn't mean like a literal pillar. It means you're going to be put in a position of strength, of authority, weight. Why? Because there are things that you're going to, and decisions that you will make that no other will be able to make in that time. All right? Did you finish it?
No, sir.
Finish it for me.
And he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my Yahweh, and the name of the city of my Yahweh.
Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to literally write it on him. It means it's going to be burned into his mind, into his thoughts. Read.
Which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my Yahweh.
Now, when it says New Jerusalem, it's speaking about us who will be in the chariots, who will come down to the New Jerusalem.
Come.
We are the ones who are going to come down from the heaven. The heaven meaning the sky, not heaven in outer space. We're going to come down in the chariots. We are the New Jerusalem. We are it. Finish it.
And I will...
2 and 9.
Galatians chapter 2 and verse 9. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship, that we should go unto the heathen, and they unto the circumcision.
So, it's letting you know that they were pillars in the church.
Mm-hmm.
Because it said they seem to be pillars.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yes, sir.
All right. From there, let's just Luke 19 and 15. Luke chapter 19 and 15.
The book of Luke, chapter 19 and verse 15. And it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him, to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading.
Read it again.
And it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him, to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading.
Read on.
Then came the first, saying, Lord, thy pound have gained 10 pounds.
Read.
And he said unto him, Well, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in a very little, have thou authority over 10 cities.
That's why in this life you don't worry about where things are.
Come.
In Christianity, you're made to feel, and I've seen this shared among many. If you have a small church, you'd be like, well, I want to have a mega church like everyone else. Well, you see, that's the wrong mentality. Because what the scriptures is teaching us here, he watches how you deal with things that are small. He's watching you. If you don't deal with it well, then he knows that you're not the species of the person that he's looking for. Because you have to be faithful. Read 16 again. It said,
Verse 16. Then came the first, saying, Lord, thy pound have gained 10 pounds. And he said unto him, Well, thou good servant.
so notice, even though you started with small, but gained with it, he said, you've been good. Read, because you multiply. Go on.
Because thou hast been faithful in a very little, have thou authority over 10 cities.
And that's why he will put you in a position over many, many cities.
That's right.
So all of you see these guys who have these mega churches, do you think they have positions of authority in the kingdom? No. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. All right, Zechariah 12 and 6, and I think we'll start wrapping up after that. Zechariah 12 and 6.
Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 6. In that day will I make the governors of Judah like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. And they shall devour all the people round about, and on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem.
Even in Jerusalem. All right, any questions from anyone? Yes.
Going back to what we're talking about with the Father giving the Son position
Yes.
and making sure that we honor that. In my prayer life, I have been talking to the Father
Right.
and not the Son. And I think dawned on me that
Right.
out of order.
Right.
And I'm trying to retrain myself
Right.
to talk to the side.
Right. Right.
You know.
Well, Yahushua said this when he taught them what is called today the Lord's Prayer. He said, when you pray, you say, Our Father. This is why you'll notice that we say Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, because we're including the Son when we're speaking to the Father. Before this, I learned to say Our Father in the name of Jesus back then in Christianity, because you cannot forget the Son. The Son must always be included in this. Certain churches in Christianity, they ruled that the Son was the Father and the Father was the Son. That's because they didn't understand the Scriptures. And so they were trying to make it that the Father and the Son, they are one. Therefore, there is not two. But that's not what the Scripture says. Let me prove that just for a quick minute. Revelation chapter 3 and 14, I think it is.
Yes, sir. 3 and 14. Revelation chapter 3 and verse 14. And unto the angel of the church of Laodicea.
So unto the pastor, go on.
Right. These things saith the Amen.
So meaning, he's trying to show the pastor of the church, I want you to see this so that you're not misled. Read.
The faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of Yahweh.
So Yahushua was created and had a beginning.
That's right.
He was created, he had a beginning. The only one you'll never hear about a beginning is the Father.
That's right.
Because he has no beginning, he has no end. The Son had a beginning, but he has no end. We have a beginning, but in the kingdom age, when we are transformed, we will have no end. But that will only be the 1/3. The 2/3 who will come back through us, they will have it through us, not of themselves. You see? So that's why you have to always pray with the Son in mind. You cannot pray just the Father and forget the Son.
That's right.
That's Christianity trying to do that. And yet Christianity, in the Roman Catholic religion, they even deem that you mustn't even pray to the Father, you pray to Mary.
That's right.
Mary is above everyone else, which shows you how much heat they're going to receive when the Most High returns. You see? So yes, so that's a good thing to change your prayer life in that regard. That's good. All right. And any other questions from anyone else? Any more questions online before we get ready to? All right. None? All right. To all those who are online, we want to extend to you our wishes. We want you also to be aware that as we move forward to the time of the Feast of Tabernacles, we want you to be prepared to come down to Houston or up to Houston, wherever you're coming from. We're going to try and support you as best as we can in order for you to have a wonderful Feast of Tabernacles with us. Please do call our offices and let us know so that we can properly prepare for this. The officer right now, he's going to read out some instructions to give you some guidelines as to how to stay connected with the information.
The initial email invitation has been sent to everyone who has expressed interest in attending Feast of Tabernacles 2019 on October 14th through the 21st. The email has all pertinent information needed for the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. Additional invites will be emailed for each day of the Feast of Tabernacles, day 2 through the 8th. After acceptance, you will have the option to add to your electronic phone calendar for quick glance and review as well. Please view, accept, or decline each day. This process will allow us to provide updates, changes, or corrections to you in a timely manner.
Very good. And so, again, feel free to be able to call. There's some, what do we have?
Email.
That's the email.
All right, so the email is sew.nmcc@yahoo.com. Again, it is capital S, lowercase e, lowercase w, .nmcc@yahoo.com. You can contact us on that email with any questions that you have regarding the feast, and we will do our best to properly cater to your needs, etc.
The S is lowercase.
The S is lowercase.
It's all
Correction, the S is lowercase. Lowercase s, lowercase e, lowercase w. Okay. All right. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you who have been coming and watching us each week, we pray that you continue to be blessed by the teaching. And again, we thank you for those of you who have been supporting us by way of your prayers and by way of your offerings and your goodwill donations. We appreciate that. And we want you to continue to subscribe to us and like us and to recommend us to your friends, families, and neighbors, those who you know are susceptible to this truth. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Now, on behalf of Officer Dwayne and myself, we say to you, Shalom, and we'll see you soon.